Nigel Farage.
Thank you, Donald, and good evening, everyone. Well, the last time I was here was on the 11th of April. I'm sorry, it's been a long time, and the reason is that on the 12th of April, I launched a brand new political party. It was called the Brexit Party, and you may have noticed that last night it managed to take 32% of the national vote across the country and be the leading party, in fact, the biggest party in terms of MEPs from across the whole of the European Union. So, yeah, I'm in a pretty jolly mood. But what I want to debate today is, what have we learned from those European election results? And I'll perhaps kick this off by saying the first thing I've learned is that in the modern world, politics can change incredibly quickly. You know, it took the Labour Party 45 years from their birth to becoming a majority government. It took the Brexit Party 45 days from its launch to become the biggest party in a national election. How come? Social media. Social media, the use of video imaging has changed absolutely everything. So don't be surprised if you see further big changes in politics in the years to come. That's the first lesson I've learned. The second lesson that I've learned is that the two parties that have absolutely dominated politics since 1918, and of course I'm talking about the Labour Party and the Conservative Party, I've learned that they're both in real trouble. And unless they change quite radically, you could see a situation within the next couple of years where they're no longer serious forces in British politics. Clearly the Conservatives, the Prime Minister has gone rather earlier, perhaps than she wanted to. And I think Jeremy Corbyn, who seems as Labour leader to simply lose election after election, and he's seeing a huge chunk of his vote going to the Brexit Party, and I'd particularly point you to Wales, where the Brexit Party smashed the Labour vote, and the northeast of England, our highest performing part of the whole country, where Brexit Party took 39% of the overall vote share and the Labour vote collapsed. They're in trouble that way, but they're also in trouble because a lot of the Remainers in the Labour Party and Labour supporters like Alistair Campbell, and perhaps more of him in a minute, but people like him voted Lib Dem, so they're losing people both ways, so they're in trouble too. I've also learned that the 31st of October is a date that will become bigger and bigger in our minds. Remember how March the 29th was embedded in our minds. I mean, no wonder, because Theresa May told us 108 times we'd leave on that date, and of course we didn't. And the other thing I've learned, and I'm going to come back to Alistair Campbell, is that the old spin machine is alive and well. No, I'm completely wrong. The Brexit Party didn't win. Now, of course we didn't win. The Lib Dems won, and the Greens won, and if you add up the Remain votes, apparently it adds up to more than the Leave votes. Quite how he works out the arithmetic on that is completely beyond me, but I've learnt that the spin machine is still going, is still up and running. So tell me, what have you learnt from those European election results? Call me on 0345 6060 973. You can text to 84850. You can tweet using the hashtag Farage and LBC at LBC. And of course, you can watch us live on Facebook and you can comment there too. Let's get straight to the callers. I'm going to Nick, who's calling from Slough. Good evening, Nick.
Hi, Nigel.
So what did you learn, Nick, from last night's results?
Well, first and foremost, obviously a massive congratulations to you and the Brexit Party.
Thank you.
But what I've learned is the country still wants to leave, Nigel. It's as simple as that. Obviously, my main question to you is, what do you think? I've seen a lot of your colleagues today urging UKIPers to dissolve, sell up, quit, and get behind the Brexit Party. Do you think that's a good idea? Do you think there's any role or relevance or purpose UKIP can still do? What's your honest opinion, Nigel?
Well, Nick, one of the things that did frustrate me in the last couple of weeks of the campaign, and I found this in the north particularly, but elsewhere too, I'd meet people in the streets or at the airport or wherever I'd be. They'd say, yeah, Nigel, I'm going to vote for you this time. I'm voting UKIP. I thought, they don't know. So, and of course, people are busy living their lives. They don't all follow politics avidly and closely. And a lot of people just didn't realise that I wasn't part of UKIP anymore. So actually, what that UKIP vote meant, and it was holding up, I mean, they were getting 50 to 60,000 votes in most of those regions.
Yeah, around 3%.
Probably, and I'm going to suggest that a lot of that was because people thought I was still involved with it. If that sounds arrogant, tell me I've got it wrong on 0345 08060600973. And the truth of it is that had that UKIP vote been with the Brexit Party, because it would have been, we'd have been over 35% of the vote, and we'd have won another handful of seats. And I just think, Nick, I think that history will treat UKIP kindly as being a party that came from nowhere and forced a referendum and changed the agenda in British politics. But I'm really not sure that it now serves any purpose at all. What say you?
Had you not set up the Brexit Party just a few weeks ago, and actually you've done marvellously well, Nigel, pat on your back. Had you not set up the Brexit Party, do you think people would have no choice but to come to UKIP, or do you think they would not bothered voting at all? Therefore, the Remain Party would have got even more of a...
I think that if the Brexit Party hadn't existed, and if there'd been no other vehicle to support, I think that UKIP would have got somewhere between 8 and 10%, but I think that's about the absolute ceiling on it.
Right, okay, brilliant. And also, one other thing, I know we're not allowed to mention the TR, Tom Robinson, but as an independent, he brought in the highest ever vote for an independent candidate. Do you think there's any reason behind that? What do you think the reasons are?
Well, Nick, he got 2% and lost his deposit. I don't think it's worth even talking about. Although, having said that, of course, Anna Soubry, who got about 2.5%, seems to be on every television and radio show there is.
Anna Soddled Soubry.
Anna, well, that would be too rude to Anna. I mean, she was delightful on Question Time the other week. But no, look, I think, the idea that Tommy Robinson is some huge public figure that commands the support of millions of people across this country, and I've heard that from people, Nick, it's for the birds. He does have a certain following, but it was never going to work. Somebody who's been to prison 4 times for 4 separate offences was never going to work in the field of politics. Nick, I thank you for your call. Stephen is a new caller from Leeds. Good evening, Stephen.
Hello, good evening, Nigel. It's just a question about the actual democratic process. Congratulations, you've done a fantastic job in 6 weeks. I'm a contributor. I'm a member. But what I'm hearing today is, even though you've got all these seats, the Brexit Party have got all these seats, and okay, the Greens have come through and the Lib Dems. But now what Labour are saying is they're talking about the referendum again, a people's vote, because the majority have voted as the electorate Remain, but you have more seats. You're the biggest party in Europe.
Well,
how can that be democratic?
Well, of course, Stephen. This is the spin machine. Normally, elections are won by the party with the highest number of votes and the most seats. At least that's what I thought until this morning, when they tried to reinvent all of this. The truth of it is, even if you add up. Even if you add up all those Remain parties, don't forget they were all individual parties. This wasn't a referendum; it was a multi-party election. And if you add up the amount of money they all spent, the amount of coverage they all had, the amount of literature they all put out, even then, if you add up the Brexit Party vote, you add on the UKIP vote, you add on the Conservative vote, because they do, as a party, officially want Brexit, absolutely, then clearly there is a majority for leave, and it's just a load of spin, isn't it?
It's as good as first past the post. It's not. I mean, when you head in UKIP up and those elections, and you absolutely smashed it, and you got no seats. You got very few seats.
I know.
That's democracy in my eyes.
But in terms of the way the election was conducted and counted last night, it was much closer to a general election than it was to a second referendum, in my view.
Yeah, and I think, as you pointed out, and the media have pointed out, let Corbyn go for a general election because he's got a cat in hell's chance of beating Brexit.
Well, I agree with you. Stephen, thank you. And Stephen's point is a valid one, because John McDonnell has told Sky News, of course we want a general election. Highly unlikely that the Tories are going to vote for that now after the results last night. So, says McDonnell, this is this afternoon, our only option now is to go back to the people in a referendum, and I think that's the position we are in now. Virtually the whole of the Labour Party, apart from Corbyn, at this stage, have moved to backing a second referendum. I suspect that unless Corbyn moves to a second referendum, he won't be around much longer. There will be a challenge to his leadership. He goes on losing election after election. We're way past Pete Corbyn. But you see, to me, I think that'll be learning the wrong lesson. If they try and take the Islington view, which is take on the Lib Dems, become a Remain party, what message do you think that sends to the 5 million Labour Leave voters, and they live predominantly in Wales, the Midlands and the north of England. I think that's what Labour are going to do, and I think for them it will be a disaster. Daniel is a new caller from North Wales. Good evening, Daniel.
Hi, Nigel. I was just wondering, because from this election I've taken out of it that we're still very much a divided country, and that from the actual popular vote of this election, there's no clear majority either way, because as for the Labour and Conservative voters, there are many mixed Leave Remain voters. And I was just wondering if you would still back the view that you had a few years ago where you said that you would be willing to back a second referendum simply to put the issue to rest and
not with this Parliament, Daniel.
Undivide the country.
Not with this Parliament, Daniel. No, absolutely not with this Parliament. If we had a second... by the way, my analysis of last night, if you add it all up, we're about 52-48 in favour of Leave. I mean, that's basically where we are. Pretty much nothing has really changed. Daniel, if we had a second referendum, not only would that be a huge insult, not only would it be, totally anti-democratic to have another vote before you've implemented the first one, but here's the problem. This Parliament wouldn't listen to a second Leave vote. We have got, if we're going to get Brexit, we've got to change the people who are sitting in Parliament. They do not reflect the country. Nearly 3/4 of these MPs were Remain voters last time round, and that's still their instinct.
Well, I agree. It's just, I don't think that we can unite the country as a whole unless this happens, because it is a very, very close population, well, not population, but it's a very close demographic on Leave and Remain, and I just don't see how either side's going to put down their pitchforks unless we have this final issue to lay it to rest.
You use the word pitchforks. I would say this very quickly, Daniel, that civilised democracy only works with losers' consent. You lose an election, you accept the result, you move on. Senior figures in British public life have refused to accept the referendum, and that is my view on why we're still so divided. Daniel, I thank you for your call. Cliff in Leeds says to me, good on you, Nigel. What I've learnt is that the BBC are still Remainers. We could talk about the Andrew Marr Show, but maybe not today. You're listening to the Nigel Farage Show here on LBC at 6:15, and time for the news headlines with Tim Humphrey.
The Prime Minister says the European elections have been very disappointing, with the Conservatives finishing fifth behind the Greens. The Brexit Party won 29 seats and took nearly a third of the vote to finish top. The pro-EU Lib Dems finished second. They have 16 seats. LBC weather: showers easing this evening. Clear spells will allow it to get chilly. Lows of 5 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Anne-Marie Walsh. In Hither Green, the South Circular remains closed off both ways. That's following an accident between Verdant Lane and Torridon Road. In Wembley, looking very busy on the roads around Wembley Stadium. That's following today's football match. In Neeson, on the North Circular northbound, the inside lane remains closed at Brentford Road IKEA. That's for some emergency repairs. And Kew Bridge, very slow moving at the moment because of roadworks there. And on the Tubes, Bakerloo line has minor delays. It was after an earlier signal failure at Regent's Park.
LBC.
So much confusion. Half-price carbonara with car insurance? Do I want another meal or just a good deal? Confused.com give you £20 free Texaco fuel with your car insurance. A free gift that makes sense? It's that easy. £20 free Texaco fuel with your car insurance. Don't be confused. Be Confused.com. Full T's and C's online. Scottish postcode exceptions and conditions apply. Offer ends 31st of May.
LBC.
Our house is too tall. Our house is a funny shape. The walls are too thick. If you're constantly making excuses for your weak Wi-Fi signal, get the new BT Complete Wi-Fi Guarantee. Clever Wi-Fi discs extend your smart hub signal to every room, whatever size and shape your house is. It's $39.99 a month on an 18-month contract with a $29.99 setup fee. BT customers can upgrade with BT Plus. BT, be there.
New customers, CPI increase starting 2020. $44.49 a month from month 19, up to 3 discs to guarantee Wi-Fi or £20 off your bill.
At the AA, we're always trying to make your journey better. Our mechanics fix 8 out of 10 cars at the roadside, usually within 30 minutes of arriving. You could say we're simply the best. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong song. Join today from just £4.50 a month. Visit theaa.com. The AA, because anything can happen.
New customers only. T's and C's apply.
Have you ever bought an investment sold by Barclays, Halifax, Lloyds, Santander or any other bank or financial advisor? Investments like stocks and shares ISAs, investment bonds and certain types of pension can be risky. If you lost money with one of these investments, you could be owed thousands of pounds in compensation. Even if you no longer have the investment or the paperwork, here at Goodwin Barrett we can still help. To start your free assessment with Goodwin Barrett, text GOOD to 60777. That's GOOD to 60777.
There's nothing like meeting face-to-face. And there's nothing like Zoom to make that happen. Zoom lets you connect and do business across town or around the world. Zoom ties together all of your communication needs into one easy platform for video conferencing, phone calls, group chat, webinars, and your conference rooms. Connect easily from anywhere, your mobile phone, your laptop, or conference room. Zoom is how business gets done. Get your free account at zoom.com today. Meet happy with Zoom.
Spotted this week in the middle of Lidl, 12-volt power tools. Get a cordless 3-in-1 combi shear or cordless hedge trimmer for only $34.99. Or a cordless drill driver and a cordless angle grinder, just $29.99 each. With prices this low, more power to you. From Sunday the 26th of May, Lidl. Big on quality, little on price. Subject to availability, selected stores, excludes NI.
The Nigel Farage Show on LBC.
So what have we learnt from those European election results? Well, it appears the Labour Party have learnt, according to John McDonnell, they've got to become the party of a second referendum and remain. I would have thought that's the wrong lesson. What have the Tories learnt? Well, they, of course, are plunged into this big leadership election that's going to go on and dominate things for the best part of the next 2 months. And looking at some of the comments the candidates are making about each other, I wonder whether that Tory division could descend almost to civil war over the course of the next few weeks. So they're so preoccupied with themselves, I'm not sure they've learnt yet much from the lesson. Christopher on Facebook says, the country has learnt, and I like this, that if you break your promises, then you get punished. But Westminster has learned to stick their head in the sand yet again. Well, Christopher, I'll talk a bit more about that as the hour goes on. What does happen if they don't listen to that very clear? I'm going to suggest to you folks that a brand new party comes along. All right, I'm quite well known, but a brand new party comes along and in the space of 45 days goes from zippity-doo to 32%, topping the poll in a multi-party election. If they don't learn that lesson and if they keep kicking the can down the road, well, I think things could get even worse from them. And Chris says, I've learned there has to be only one type of leader that can unite the Remainers with all their different factions. Well, Chris, you're right. They are divided in different factions, but I'll put this to you, Chris, had the Greens, the Lib Dems, and Change UK, had they run together as one party, they would not have got as many votes as they got as three parties with three expenditure budgets and three amounts of leaflet distribution and everything else. And even the Green Party themselves said that much of their vote wasn't about the European issue, it was about their position on climate change. Let's go to Patricia in Wanstead. Hi, Patricia.
Hello, dear.
Hello.
Congratulations.
Well,
Two quick things.
Yeah.
You're not in Westminster and you only had 6 weeks to set up a party.
Uh-huh.
The Change UK party, all Westminster politicians at the top, and they couldn't do it.
No, they couldn't. They couldn't do it, Patricia, because I think they're products of big party politics. They get selected by a big party, they get put into a constituency, they win, and they convince themselves it's because they're geniuses. Actually, it's because they're part of a big party machine, and having to do it for yourself is not so easy.
No, but you managed it.
Well, I've done it before, and I have learnt a lot of lessons over more than 20 years. And also, Patricia, I had around me some entrepreneurial-type characters, people who've set businesses up and done things, so that's perhaps the difference there.
Good people. The second point I'd like to make very, very quickly, I live in London, and so do most of my friends, who have either got children or grandchildren. They more or less knew you were going to win. They're all leavers. And they voted Green simply because of the air the kids are breathing.
Yep, and Patricia, actually, do you know what? Living in parts of London, given the appalling level of our air quality,
Absolutely.
who can blame them for being very worried? No, Patricia, it's a very valid point. Thank you very much indeed. And Patricia, backing up what I was saying there, that much of that Green vote was for different reasons. And actually, what a rather good reason in a sense, if you're genuinely worried, living in parts of London, about the air quality. I get that. I fully understand it. Nigel, do Labour now want to stop Brexit? The Labour guy I met in the street in Eltham told me that he would. So they're at 6s and 7s. Rob, they are at 6s and 7s. Indeed, 7 times. Jeremy Corbyn was asked by that wonderful Andrew Marr fella on the BBC. 7 times he was asked, what is Labour's position on Brexit? And 7 times he simply couldn't answer. But I think the rest of the party are answering for him. The Islingtonians are taking over Labour policy. Let's go to a new caller in Gloucestershire called Harry. Good evening, Harry.
Hello, it's really nice to talk to you, Nigel. I've been a big supporter. I've gone to a lot of your rallies and things, and I've been really enthusiastic.
Right, so you're a nailed-on Brexiteer. So what have you learnt, Harry, from the whole experience?
To be honest, Nigel, it was a bit of a mixed bag for me last night, because obviously seeing the seats and the votes come in was, brilliant. But then I was watching the BBC's coverage, and it's just so depressing to see what is obviously such a good victory for us being like spun in this way, as though people are saying, oh no, it's a sign that we want to stop Brexit and all of this. And it just feels really deflating to send this message, and it's like they've not listened. It's what do we do from here?
Well, Harry, what you could have done is listen to Ian Dale, who did the election show on LBC, and I managed to listen to some quite big snippets of it, and there you heard absolutely every point of view that was put, and Ian challenging everybody. So, Harry, I think it's your own fault for being stupid enough to go for BBC coverage. You put yourself in a state of depression, absolutely needlessly, and I hope you'll learn from this, Harry.
Yeah, that's a fair point, Nigel.
Well, there you go. All right. Listen, thanks for your support. Very good of you. I'm off to Isleworth to speak to Sam. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Nigel. Well done.
That's very kind. Thank you.
My 10-year-old daughter is completely supporting you. She's just, it really got into politics just because of the whole, the Brexit and our democracy, and she's totally backing you.
Right,
I
very good.
I have to tell you that.
Thank you.
Well, what I've learned is that the establishment is probably not going to change, and you're going to have to force it to change. I think I did have a debate before trying to compromise, and with regards to her May's last deal, I thought maybe we should take it, because I was kind of really scared that we were going to lose it. The Brexiteers might not come out to vote, and I've heard some sort of polls saying that a lot of Brexiteers didn't come out to vote because they've kind of lost the will to live, maybe, I don't know. But I think you were right, because May completely shamefully kind of went back and crossed every one of her red lines, really. And I don't think you can have a halfway house. You do have to have a clean Brexit, and I completely agree with you right now. And I think with you and your team, I think there's some hope to put that maximum pressure in the EU.
So what you've learnt is that the Brexit Party will have to do the whole thing again, yeah?
I think if you don't, there isn't anybody else that will do it. I think if you didn't come along, I don't know where we would be today.
Yeah, well, Sam, I took the view very much that actually if Brexit was left to the current Conservative and Labour parties, there would not be a recognisable Brexit of any kind at all.
And can I just quickly say, the other point is that a new inclusive, diverse candidate listing, I think, helps this cause, because I don't know, I would never have probably voted UKIP because of the right-wing element, maybe. But now, having looked at your candidates, I was very happy to put that cross in that box, because I think that you do offer that. And I hope that if you go forward and go with the elections and put the candidates up, that's something that you will bear that in mind, obviously.
OK, no, thanks for the advice, Sam. I take it very much to heart. Mary is a new caller from Surrey. Good evening, Mary.
Oh, hi. Hi, Nigel. How are you?
Fine, thank you. So,
congratulations.
It's been quite a night and quite a day, and I'm getting a little weary, if I'm honest, Mary. Although should never really admit weakness like that. But so come on, what have you learnt from the whole thing?
It's just a reflection of the first referendum. We want the majority to leave. We want to go, and we want to get on with it. It's as clear as day, isn't it, really?
And do you, Mary, when you look at the list of runners and riders who are lining up, it'll probably look like the Grand National before they've finished, for the Conservative Party leadership and indeed the Prime Ministership, of our country. Do you see people there who you think will deliver the Brexit that you so clearly want?
The ones at the moment?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I don't trust anyone. Do you?
Not really, no, because a lot of them have broken their promises, and I'll talk a bit more about that as the hour goes on. But no, I'm struggling too. Mary, thank you. Off to Bromley to speak to Luke. Hi, Luke.
Hello, Nigel. It's Luke again. We met at the rally in Olympia. Thank you so much.
Oh, fantastic.
Listen, I can only say this morning, the joy that you brought, the results brought to so many people. My phone was going berserk. I think everyone's was. It was, it's incredible. For me, the main thing that I've learned was two things. Number one was when I was handing out leaflets, was to see just a broad range of people who were accepting the Brexit vote. Not just white people. My wife is African, for example. So many black and Asian people were saying, yes, they're going to vote Brexit. And I thought, fantastic, because they realise it's not a vote against people, it's a vote for democracy. Now, I'd just like to say also, what it's also taught me is actually that Labour and all the Remainers have learned absolutely nothing, because they're saying the same thing, they're beating the same drum, and that's exactly why they're in the problem they're in.
Well, that may well be right, Luke. That may well be right. Listen, thank you for your call. Thank you for your comment. Come on, someone out there tell me that Alistair Campbell's right. Someone out there tell me that Remain won last night, that it was a huge victory for Remain, because that's the spin machine. If that's what you think, tell me on 0345 6060 973. Christine says on Facebook, I've learned that Corbyn's true self emerged as he's ditched his kinder politics by calling Mr Farage a snake oil salesman. Yes, he's really been having a pop today. Gosh, they must be worried. Carol is calling from Sleaford. Hi, Carol.
Hi, Nigel. Congratulations.
Thank
we
you.
attended the Lincoln rally. Absolutely blown away.
Right.
The whole campaign was fabulous. Positive, nothing nasty. I've got two questions, though.
Yep.
One, moving forward, I'm really, really keen that this doesn't stop here, that this actually does gain traction, because I think there's going to be a feeling that in the mainstream media that perhaps it's a kind of protest vote, flash in the pan. I couldn't believe last night, listening to some of it, that I turned it off, that it was a protest vote. It's not. It's real and it's genuine, and people want change.
Yeah, absolutely, Carol. It's not a protest vote. It's a genuine desire for change. And you know what I found? All those rallies I did and walkabouts I did, at least those that weren't interrupted, what I found is actually we were giving people hope that through the democratic process they could achieve something. What was your second point? Very quickly, Carol,
My second
please.
point, very quickly, is is the Brexit Party going to do anything about some of these spurious, outrageous comments that have been allowed to be thrown onto BBC, such as Alistair Campbell last night talking about you taking rubles?
Yes. Carol, can I just say there is one quite high-profile politician who's made a series of comments this morning. We have consulted a Queen's Counsel tonight. We may well be taking legal action tomorrow on some of the appalling accusations that have been made. Carol, I thank you. You're listening to the Nigel Farage Show exclusively here on LBC at 6:30, and time for the news with Tim Humphrey.
The Prime Minister says the European elections have been very disappointing, with the Conservatives coming fifth overall. Labour also suffered losses, finishing third behind the Liberal Democrats. Brexit polled nearly a third of the national vote and took 29 seats. It says it will field candidates in the next general election if the UK doesn't leave the EU by October the 31st. In Scotland, the pro-EU SNP took just under 38% of the vote and took 3 of the 6 seats. And the Home Secretary, Sajid Javid, has confirmed he is to stand to be the next Conservative leader. He's tweeted that the party must bring unity across the UK and deliver Brexit. LBC weather: showers easing this evening. Clear spells will allow it to get chilly. Lows of 5 degrees.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Weekday mornings from 7. LBC.
Anna Soubry, Change UK Independent Group MP for Broxtowe. Why such a disaster last night, and how will you put it right?
I don't think it was a disaster, actually. We're a genuinely new party. 600,000 people turned out and voted for us.
But Anna,
hang on,
are you seriously suggesting this was a trial?
No, I didn't say that.
Right, how would you characterise it?
Right, so 600,000 people turning out and voting for a new political party, in my opinion, which I'm entitled to, is very good, and I don't have a problem with that.
Very good, OK.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast.
With Xero, get your business digital ready with Xero accounting software.
LBC.
Reunite with thousands of free kids places when you book a TUI holiday now. With great
Great offers on destinations from Mallorca to Mykonos. Book online or visit your local TUI store. We cross the T's, dot the I's and put you in the middle. TUI, discover your smile. Atoll protected. Free kids places subject to limited availability on selected holidays for a limited time. One free child place per 2 full paying adults. Booking T's and C's apply. See website for details.
At the AA, we're always trying to make your journey better. Our mechanics fix 8 out of 10 cars at the roadside, usually within 30 minutes of arriving. You could say we're simply the best. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong song. Join today from just £4.50 a month. Visit theaa.com. The AA, because anything can happen. New customers only. T's and C's apply.
I know what the Rachel hairstyle is. I know how to write hello on a calculator. I know the name of the world's first clone sheep. And I know which part of the room you should never put baby in. But I don't know my state pension.
Check your state pension and see how you can build on it with a workplace or other pension. Get to know your pension at yourpension.gov.uk.
Our house is too tall. Our house is a funny shape. The walls are too thick. If you're constantly making excuses for your weak Wi-Fi signal, get the new BT Complete Wi-Fi Guarantee. Clever Wi-Fi discs extend your smart hub signal to every room, whatever size and shape your house is. It's $39.99 a month for an 18-month contract with a $29.99 setup fee. BT customers can upgrade with BT Plus. BT, be there.
New customers, CPI increase starting 2020. $44.49 a month from month 19, up to 3 discs to guarantee Wi-Fi or £20 off your bill.
At Indeed, we understand that when it comes to hiring, it's important to have a large talent pool to choose from. But sometimes, too many good options can be overwhelming. That's why Indeed doesn't just give you access to a large pool of job seekers. We also offer screener tools that let you instantly narrow down your search. Hone in on hiring with Indeed. Experience Indeed for yourself today and get a free sponsored job upgrade on your first posting at Indeed.com/redeem. Terms and conditions apply.
On the evening of Tuesday the 3rd, my husband and I were discussing how best to sell our house. I told him Purple Bricks make you do it all yourself. That was fake news. Purple Bricks can do everything from viewings to negotiating your sale. For this, I would like to apologise to my husband unreservedly. We request privacy at this difficult time. Thank you.
Oh dear. Save yourself from commisery at purplebricks.co.uk.
Fixed fee payable on instruction or after 10 months viewing service costs extra. See website for more details.
The Nigel Farage Show on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
So what have we learned from the European elections? Well, all of this has come at a time when the Conservatives are going into what's going to be 7 or 8 weeks of furious internal debate and perhaps even civil war and division over who the next Prime Minister and leader of their party is going to be. And I get a sort of message here, an SMS from Peter, and he's pleading with me. Would you please, Nigel, consider helping Conservative Brexiteers in the general election? Because I think it'll take something like that to sort out these Ramonas. Please say yes, Nigel. Well, OK, let's have a little look at this, Peter, shall we? So, who is running to take over the leadership of the Tory party? Well, we have Michael Gove, we have Matt Hancock, we have Jeremy Hunt, we have Boris Johnson, we have Andrea Leadsom, Esther McVeigh, Dominic Raab and Rory Stewart. So, could I, Peter, trust any of them to deliver Brexit? Now, you see, I remember Theresa May giving her Lancaster House speech, sitting in this chair and saying to all of you, I can't believe what Theresa May, the British Prime Minister, has said today. I was cheering her to the rafters. She was using words and phrases that I'd been using for 20 years. And me, silly, innocent, stupid me, I believed her. And then she fought a general election. Do you remember all that? Brexit means Brexit. We're taking back control of our laws, our money and our borders. And the manifesto said, we're leaving the customs union. We're leaving the single. I thought, wow, it's happening. It's wonderful. And millions of people out there, despite her abject performance as a campaigner. OK, I felt a bit sorry for her on a human level the other day, but not on a political level. And millions of people believed her. And none of it counted for anything. We didn't, despite being told 108 times leave on the 29th of March. And here is my problem, Peter. All 9 of those people, all 9 of them, despite the fact some of them utterly condemned the new treaty that had been drafted by Monsieur Barnier, all 9 of them voted for it, despite the fact some of them had condemned it. How could I trust any of them? Let's get back to the callers. Sam is a new caller from Birmingham. Good evening, Sam.
Hello there, Nigel.
Hi there. What have you learnt from last night's results, Sam?
Well, from last night's results, I think what we can really draw is the fact that as much as there is still very much an appetite to leave the European Union at all costs, as your vote share indicates, I think the greater lesson that we can take from this is the fact that any party that is offering Remain or something in between, like Labour or the Conservatives, the vote is catastrophically split.
Yes.
So what needs to occur now, if someone like me, who did vote Remain and still wishes to remain in the European Union, is we need a strong message from a party like Labour, like Green, like Lib Dem, rather than this in between, like this kind of wasteland for people like me who go, well, who do I vote for? Whereas obviously you're offering a very strong message.
Yes, I mean, you can agree or disagree with what I campaigned on, but at least it was pretty clear. Sam, can I ask you, who in the end did you vote for in these elections?
I voted for the Green Party.
You did? And did you do that on environmental issues or on the EU issue or a bit of both?
It was a bit of both, and also my disenchantment with Labour and Corbyn's basically just inability to offer a policy which really just...
So are you... I mean, I've said a couple of times tonight that I think that Labour moving towards being a full Remain, full second referendum party would be electorally disastrous, because I've talked about, you know, those 5 million Labour Brexiteers. But are you, Sam, one of those people who would go back to Labour if they outright go for a second referendum?
If it came to a general election and they were offering the ability either to vote on the leaving deal or for a second referendum or to remain, either one of those three would tick the box and give me the reason to vote for Labour again. Yes,
okay.
I could not rightly do so within these European elections.
OK, no, Sam, thank you. And Sam, you know, John McDonnell, if he's listening, will be very happy with Sam's call. There are, of course, people out there on that side. But Labour, they're in big trouble. They're losing votes on both sides of this argument. I guess they've got to make their minds up at some point in time. My next caller is a 17-year-old from Northampton called Jaden. Good evening to you.
Good evening, Nigel. It's great to speak to you. I'm a big fan of the show.
Well, you were too young to vote. Did that really annoy you? Would you like to have voted last week?
I would have liked to have voted last week. And I think I would have voted for you.
Oh, wow.
And that's coming from a Conservative Party member.
Right, OK. So as a Conservative Party member who would have been tempted by me, seduced electorally by me, perhaps, what lesson does your party need to take from these results? Because, let's face it, this is the worst result the Conservative Party has had, I think, since 1832. Less than 10% of the national vote. So, yeah, absolutely. So what does your party need to learn from this?
Well, I think the lesson to be learned from yesterday is that unless the Conservative Party commits to a proper, clean Brexit, then the oldest political party in Europe will be dead. It will be wiped out by the Brexit Party.
Yeah, Anne Widdecombe made a comment a couple of times on the campaign trail, and she said, you know, either we leave or they leave. And that was the comment she was making about MPs in Westminster. So you believe that's a real possibility?
Oh, definitely. And I think the Conservative Party best learn that lesson quickly, or history is going to cast its verdict in those chilling words, too late.
Interesting. So who are you? I mean, have you decided yet who... I mean, you obviously don't know who the final two will be that will get presented to you. And have you had a thought yourself who you think could lead the Conservative Party out of this impasse?
Well, I think yesterday's result was the final nail in the coffin of the withdrawal agreement of Mrs May's new European treaty, as I think you call it.
I do.
So I think the next leader of the Conservative Party has to be someone like Steve Baker, who consistently voted against the deal in order to have any sort of legitimacy and a chance of winning back supporters who voted for the Brexit Party.
OK, but is Steve Baker going to make the last two? I don't think he is, Jaden, is he? Even if he does continue with the campaign.
Well, I think it was Ken Clarke, who I don't usually listen to, but he said something worth noting the other day, which is in his political lifetime, the front-runner has never won the Conservative leadership election.
Yes, that's right. And, famously one remembers David Davis in 2005 being so far ahead against David Cameron that the bookmakers stopped taking money on him. So, yep. And of course, Margaret Thatcher in 75 was nowhere in the contest. So, strange things have happened. Jaden, thank you for your call. Steve-O says to me on Twitter, I did not vote for the first time since I was able to vote. I'm now 31. I have no faith in any of the parties right now. Steve-O, I tell you what, you are not alone. There are lots of people absolutely hacked off. Also, we're being asked to vote again and again and again and again. So many people, of course, who voted just a few weeks ago in the local elections, then asked to vote again yesterday in European elections. A lot of people said, we have had enough. Let's go to West Kensington and speak to Jane. Good evening,
Hello,
Jane.
Nigel. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm very happy for you, but I'm still angry because I live in London.
Yeah.
So I think Brexit came third.
Well, we managed to win a couple of seats and get about 20% of the vote. I mean, it wasn't bad, really, for London, given that we're constantly told that London is all-out Remain.
Yeah, that's fine. I thought maybe this time it was more of a preferential vote rather than a first past the post.
It wasn't It wasn't preferential, Jane, but it was proportional.
Proportional.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, what do you do? Do you have any advice for me if in the general election, if there is one? Who do I vote for? Because are you going to come in London, in my ward, in Kensington and Chelsea,
Jane,
which used to be Conservative?
Did Jane? I have to say, I do think that there's a 50%, perhaps even marginally higher than that chance of a general election in October, maybe even November this year. So that, it could happen. It could happen. We could finish up with a new Conservative leader who, in the end, cannot command the confidence of the House of Commons and gets brought down. That could easily happen. And in those circumstances, with the UK having not left the European Union on the 31st of October, you would, yes, of course, you'd have a Brexit Party candidate. And how to advise people to vote? There are two ways to vote. One is to vote tactically. I'm going to vote for this party because I think by doing that, I'll stop the other lot getting in who I dislike even more than the lot I'm voting for. That's tactical voting. Or you vote for people that you believe with, and it's with your conscience. One of the great difficulties, Jane, with our first-past-the-post electoral system, and with no second ballot paper for an opinion, is just a lot of people just don't engage or vote negatively. So, Jane, we'll face that choice at some point before too long. Thank you very much indeed from your call. Nigel, my takeaway from last night is that they're still not listening, says Fran in South London. Fran in South London, I have watched and listened to a lot of interviews today with a lot of leading politicians, and I agree with you. They think the Brexit Party vote is just a little blip. Just a few angry people who'll all very soon come to their senses. They haven't got a clue. You're listening to the Nigel Farage Show here on LBC at 6:45, and time for the news headlines with Tim Humphrey.
Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn says his party's priority is still to seek a general election or a public vote. Despite big European Parliament losses, they took 15% of the vote and finished behind the new Brexit Party and the Lib Dems. The Conservative lost 15 seats and finished 5th. LBC weather, showers easing this evening. Clear spells will allow it to get chilly, lows of 5 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Anne-Marie Walsh. In Hither Green and the South Circular remains closed in both directions. That's following an accident between Verdant Lane and Torridon Road. In Thornton Heath, the High Street, that's closed both ways following an accident near to the Leisure Centre. And in Wembley, there are delays on roads around Wembley Stadium following today's football match. In Neasden, on the North Circular northbound, and that's queuing on the approach to Brentford Road IKEA as the inside lane is closed off there for some emergency repairs.
Coming up at 7 on LBC, Ian Dale.
Some people appear to think it was all an illusion, that the Brexit Party didn't win most votes, most seats and 90% of the council areas. Well, they did, whether you like it or not.
Ian Dale on LBC.
LBC has been working with the Get Into Teaching campaign to look at how a career in teaching can shape lives beyond the classroom.
Lots of people come into teaching after 2 or 3 different careers, and those kind of experiences, if you've got, for example, management experience, schools need good managers, any kind of experience in the world of work could well be applicable in the teaching world.
Go to lbc.co.uk for more information on a career in teaching, to hear the full discussion, and for a chance to win an iPad Air and Apple Watch with LBC. In the last 10 years, the number of former service personnel seeking mental health treatment from combat stress has almost doubled.
I think the word is getting out there that it is okay, to talk about these things, and it's pride and trust, because I didn't trust anybody.
Head to lbc.co.uk for information on how you can support former service men and women to help them overcome mental health problems and finally feel themselves again with combat stress and LBC.
To all who've travelled with Eurotunnel the shuttle, the outdoorsy types, foodie types, E-types, Jaguars, dogs, cats, alpacas, boot packers, last-minute packers, kitchen sink packers, motorhomes, motorbikers, mountain bikers, surfboarders, snowboarders, crossing borders with feet up on the dashboarders, long legs, first timers, and the let's just take it all in our own timers. It's our 25th birthday, but we're wishing you many happy returns. Join the celebration at Eurotunnel.com.
Bangers and mash, showers and power ballads, tea and toast. Some things just belong together. And if you own a small business, your double act is work you and life you. So at Starling Bank, we mix pleasure with business too. Manage your banking from one beautifully simple app with no monthly fees, instant spending notifications and 24/7 support. Apply in minutes today and say hello to the ultimate work-life bank balance. Just search for Starling Bank, the bank that works like you. Eligibility criteria applies.
The great British weather. One day you're cozying in with the family, the next you're chilling out in the garden. But whatever you're doing, Trusted Trader are always on hand to help. TrustedTrader.com have lots of really lovely tradespeople who are vetted, reviewed and reliable, unlike the weather. So for roofers who stop the rain coming in, gardeners for when the sun comes out, and other professionals in their trade, simply visit TrustedTrader.com.
Monday morning rush hour, and of course there's roadworks. Phil's got loads of deliveries and it's going to be a late one. So what's he so happy about? He just got a new Volkswagen Transporter for only £269 a month on contract hire. It has front assist with city emergency braking that intervenes if you don't brake in time. Handy when it's bumper to bumper. Happy days. Contact your local Volkswagen van centre for flexible finance options to suit your business. Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles. Working with you. Business users only. No ownership excluding VAT at 20%. 48-month contract hire. £807 initial rental. T's and C's apply until the 30th of June 2019. Volkswagen Finance.
Looking for your perfect kitchen? Visit roomsense.co.uk.
Quality at a price you can afford. That's Room Sense.
The Nigel Farage Show on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
One of the things that I learnt last night is that the fanatical Remainers never accept the result of any referendum or election without putting their own bizarre spin on it, such as Remain won last night. Edward says on Facebook, to say that Remain won last night requires the math skills of Diane Abbott. Rosemary says the Conservatives and Labour fought on a pro-Brexit manifesto, so why aren't the mainstream media adding their votes? Well, Rosemary, if you add the Labour Party on the basis that their official position is we should leave, but in a remarkably soft way, but it is still leave, then it's 58% voted for parties that support leave and 38% for parties that back Remain. Either way, it is an extraordinary spin attempt. Alistair Campbell, he's behind all of it. We'll get him back one Sunday morning again for another head-to-head. Let's go to Scotland and speak to Regan. Good evening to you.
Hi, Nigel.
So, what did you learn in Scotland, apart from the fact that the SNP are still very strong?
Yeah, well, I voted the Brexit Party.
Okay.
Now, what I found out is, over the past 5 years, the SNP have actually lost, it's a decline in majority, and this year it's the worst it's been in 5 years. So, the way I see it is that there's a growing majority for the Brexit Party to the Scotland to leave the EU?
Well, I'm not sure that's quite right, but I have to say, You know, again, this idea that the sort of Nicola Sturgeon gives you, that everybody north of the border thinks we should remain, is of course nonsense. And it was a pretty good start for the Brexit Party in difficult circumstances. But I don't think we're quite there yet. And even though they've been losing support within Scotland, this was a good European election result for the SNP, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
we can't deny
that. I've been an SNP voter. I was only eligible to vote a few years ago, and I've been an SNP voter because it's a Scottish national party, and I'm a Scottish resident. But the Brexit Party gave something different, and as a democratic vote, we voted to leave as one nation.
Absolutely.
Scotland, the SNP voters think that Scotland's separate from the UK. We're not. This is a democratic vote as one nation, and we voted to leave. It doesn't matter, if we're in Scotland or you're in England, it should be one vote.
Well,
I should leave.
I mean, I agree with you. And of course, Nicola Sturgeon is opposed to both the referendum on Scottish separation and she's opposed to the referendum on Brexit. Regan, thank you for your Scottish perspective. Dave says, would you ever consider a confidence and supply arrangement with the Tories? Dave, you're asking me a question. Who would I want to do a deal with? I said in the campaign, I'd do a deal with the devil if it got us back the independence of our nation. And that's how I feel about it. Dawn on Facebook says, how many more times do we need to vote out of the EU and MPs keep wanting another vote? Wasn't Thursday's vote an indication of how we would vote in a referendum? Dawn, as I say, 52-48's my analysis of it. But indeed, the general election, overwhelmingly, people voted in that in 17 for parties who were pro-Brexit. None of it seems to register. None of it seems to get through. Let's go to Sandhurst and speak to Hazel. Hazel, have you learned anything from these elections?
Hi, Nigel. First, I'd like to say great congratulations.
Thank you.
I saw you at Frimley and it was absolutely awesome. Sadly, I've learnt nothing.
Right, okay.
The Remainers are still in denial and they won't accept the result, and they've put such a spin on it, along with the BBC, who continue to be biased, and Alistair Campbell, of course.
Pretty
much
a full house then for you, Hazel.
Yes, it was, sadly.
So what you've learned is that they've learnt nothing.
Yes, exactly.
No, I think, I have to say, looking at all the coverage and commentary today, I'm absolutely with you. They just don't get this. They think the Brexit Party will just fade away and fizzle away, and there won't be a problem. And at the next general election, everything can go back to normal, even if we still have not left the EU. Are they potentially in for a shock, Hazel?
Oh, definitely. They're ostriches with their head in the sands, and you've got so much support behind your party, Nigel, and we're going to show them.
Interesting. Thank you very much indeed. Jan on Facebook says, I learnt that even the BBC was forced to mention your name. Yeah, but through gritted teeth. Come on. Thomas is a new caller from Suffolk. Good evening, Thomas.
Good evening. Congratulations on your success yesterday, Nigel.
Thank you.
But I don't believe that 32% of the vote is a mandate for a no-deal exit, which would be a big change for the country.
Well, Brexit's a big change for the country, Thomas, isn't it?
It is, yeah, but no deal is about as extreme as you can go in Brexit. And the fact is that the majority of the country, they had an opportunity to vote for no deal explicitly on Thursday, and they've chosen not to. A large portion have, but a large portion don't feel ready to take that.
But it wasn't a referendum, Thomas. It was a multi-party election, with each party limited to what they could spend and how much they could advertise. I mean, I take your point. It's not 50%. I understand that. But it wasn't a referendum. Can I make a constructive suggestion? What about some of the businessmen and businesswomen who've been elected for the Brexit Party, who are off to Brussels? What about they join the negotiating team for this country to get us absolutely ready on the 31st of October so that we can leave on whatever terms? How about that as a constructive idea?
So what would you be proposing they put forward in those negotiations?
Number one, scrap the treaty, scrap the withdrawal agreement. It's failed 3 times in Parliament. It doesn't deliver Brexit. Number two, announce to the European Union that we will be leaving. The law of the land is we leave on the 31st of October, and maybe they'd come back with a sensible trade deal, which of course we were offered last year by Mr Tusk, but Mrs May didn't want it. And thirdly, what we could do is use our business experience to make sure that leaving on WTO rules is as smooth as possible, and we've thought about all the eventualities. Wouldn't that be a constructive thing? I mean, after all, this time last week, the Conservatives were still working with the Labour Party on a deal. Why couldn't they work with one or two of the business figures from the Brexit Party?
Well, I would say that you say they proposed a trade deal. Would a withdrawal agreement not have to be a precursor to a trade deal? We're not going to be able to get one done in the months before October now. So, yes, we can get a Canada-style trade deal, which we could still do because the
well, we could do it. We got.
Declaration isn't.
We got 5
legally
months.
binding.
We've got 5 months until we're supposed to leave. We've got full regulatory alignment because we've been part of the thing for over 45 years. You know, and Tusk did say back in March last year, you know, if you wanted to ask for a simple trade agreement, we would talk to you about it. Mrs. May didn't want to leave just with a free trade deal. She wanted a close and special partnership. Thomas, thank you. I'm going to go. My final caller is Matthew from the New Forest. Good evening, Matthew.
Hello, Nigel. Congrats on the other day.
Thank you very much. So, what have you learnt from it all, Matthew? Give us your words of wisdom.
Well, parties that have said they'll support a second referendum have more MEPs than the Brexit Party. That's fact.
Right. Explain how you work that out, please.
I saw it on Twitter earlier.
Oh, well, if it's on Twitter, it must be true.
I mean, no, Nigel, listen.
Yeah, I'm listening, I promise you.
I mean, that wasn't everyone voting. What it shows is British public is still quite divided. And the Remain party stood on not just Remain, but on many other issues. And I think what we need is and I think you could actually get behind it, we need a confirmatory referendum.
Oh, right.
And I think we need to put, because obviously no deal is relatively popular, I think no deal should be on there.
Uh-huh.
I think Remain should be on there, but we should also have some form of, say, a Norway deal as well.
Oh, Matthew, that's a 3-card trick. You have to give...
No, because...
Yes.
About it, you said Norway's sovereign, independent, makes their own trade deals, catch their own fish.
Yeah.
Many a time.
Yeah, and we haven't even in the withdrawal agreement got the chance to catch our fish. Matthew, come back to me again. We'll talk about confirmatory referendums. Folks, my conclusion is it's still 52-48 to the Leave side, and the real lesson I learn is if we don't leave on the 31st of October, the Labour and Conservative parties are in for further big shocks. You've been listening to the Nigel Farage Show. I'm back tomorrow, again at 6, at 10 tonight, Tom Swarbrick, but up next, it's Ian Dale.
Nigel, thank you very much. Saw a really interesting tweet just now from someone called Dizzy Thinks. It says, I get you think the City of Manchester hold the Premier League title, but if you add up the points of Arsenal, Chelsea and Tottenham, it's pretty clear that London holds the Premier